Good morning, students. Today we will study from Civics, Chapter 1, which is Democracy and Equality. So it's page number 198 in the textbook. If you want, you can open your textbooks. Um, in this chapter, we will be covering three things mainly. The first one is equality in democracy. So, our democracy promises equality. So, what exactly does that mean? And we will see universal adult franchise under equality in democracy, and I'll explain you what that means. And we will see if, like we have proclaimed equality, do we in India actually have equality or no? And then we will see how leaders worked to eradicate inequality. What are the steps they took? What are the measures they took? And we will see what happened after the measures that was taken. And in the end, we will see steps taken by the government of India and constitution to ensure equality. And we will see how much of this has been succeeded and how much of this has been a failure. So, first, let's move on to equality in democracy. According to democracy, we all know democracy means of the people, by the people, and for the people. So, if there is a government that is voted by the people, and the government has to work for the people, and the government is of the people. So here the well-being of the people is taken into consideration, and such a government and such a ruling is called as democracy. Now in our democracy, it promises equality for all. So it says all are equal before the law. That is according to the Indian democracy. Now, one of the main things Indian democracy gives to Indian citizens to ensure equality for all is called universal adult franchise. Now, this is one of the schemes or one of the freedom or right given by the Indian government to all citizens of India. So, universal adult franchise. Okay. So, what is universal adult franchise? According to universal adult franchise, every citizen of India who is above the years of 18 has been given the rights to vote. He or she can choose the government or choose the leader, and he has the freedom to choose the leader. They have the freedom to vote for the leader and choose who has to rule them. So this is called as universal adult franchise. It is the freedom to vote. Anyone and everyone above 18 years has the freedom to vote, regardless of their caste, regardless of their creed, regardless of their color, regardless of the religion or the education status. So this is called as universal adult franchise. Now, when we speak about universal adult franchise and the freedom and equality the country offers, let's have a look into one of the story and see if everybody is actually enjoying the freedom that is told or given by the government. Under universal adult franchise, like we said earlier, all Indian citizens above the year of 18 years has the freedom to vote. So now let's see a story of voting. Let's consider this as the place where voting takes place. Okay. And there are people standing in queue to vote. And the people here are all above 18 years, men, women, regardless of the class, regardless of their color, regardless of their financial backgrounds, regardless of their education. All of them are standing here to vote. And while they are standing in the line, let's consider this too has, let's say this is Miss Kamala and this is Mala and this is Sahib. Now, Mala and Kamala lives in a small So Mala and Kamala lives in a very small house near the place where they are standing, and they live in a slum. Okay, so let's say they live in a very small hut and they are neighbors, and they live in very poor condition and they have very bad economic background. And Sahib is the owner of a very big house, and Kamala works as a maid in Sahib's house. Okay, now this story is all of them are standing in the same line to give their votes, regardless of rich, regardless of poor, all of them are standing in the same line. So Kamala tells to Mala, Mala, look, look, there is Sahib. Sahib is also standing in the same line to vote, and he has to wait just like us to give his vote. So Mala says, oh, that is correct. And they think there is some kind of equality here where all of us are given equal opportunity and all of us have to go through the same rule to cast a vote. Now they all cast their vote, and Mala and Kamala also cast their vote, and Sahib also casts his vote, and they are going back home and the voting is over. On the way back home, Sahib goes in his car and Mala and Kamala are walking. So Sahib is going, and as Sahib goes to his house and he sees Mala and he says, Mala and Kamala, and Sahib says, Kamala, don't forget to come home and be on time. And Kamala says, yes, Sahib, and she waves at him, and Sahib goes home. And Mala and Kamala goes to their house. And Kamala goes to her house, and in her house she has a sick daughter, and she is staying there, and she is very sick and she cannot get up, and they do not have enough money to take her to the hospital. Kamala tells to her daughter, daughter, don't worry, today I'm going to work, and today I will ask Sahib's wife to give me some money so that I can take you to the hospital. So please stay at home and rest until I work and come back and then take you to the hospital. So Kamala says that, and she comes to Sahib's house and goes to work. And after she works at Sahib's house, she speaks to the owner's wife and she says, "Ma'am, can you please give me some money because my daughter is sick and I want to take her to the hospital?" And she gives her some money and she tells her, "Don't repeat this again. I cannot give you money every time you ask. This time, take this money and take your daughter to the hospital." So Kamala finishes her work by evening. She comes back home. She takes her daughter and she comes to a hospital. As she comes to the hospital, she sees that in front of the hospital there is a long queue. And all the sick people are standing there, and Kamala has to wait with her sick daughter in this long queue. And standing in this long queue, she thinks, "Oh, this is not right. If it was Sahib and his daughter, they would not have waited in such a long queue to go to the hospital, because they would not have gone to a government hospital, but they had the money to go to a private hospital, and there they would not wait for so long in a queue. But this is so bad that I have to wait for so long to get my sick daughter to the hospital to be treated." Now, in this story, we should think, we have to ponder if. Hello, Moto. So, in this story, we get to see two things. One is, there is some amount of equality which the government is trying to give to its people. At the same time, when it comes to the economic status, economic conditions of the people, and other things, there are still divisions and there are still inequality existing among the Indian society. Let's also see what are the other kinds of inequality that is existing among the society. One of them is caste system. Caste system is one of the major inequality or social evil that exists in the Indian society. In the early period, caste system was only to divide the society, to divide the work. However, with times that passed, caste system became a social evil where people of the lower caste was being exploited brutally by the people of the upper caste, and the people of the lower caste was not given equal rights or equal opportunities like the people of the upper caste. So another example is Velu Murugan, let's call him Velu, is a boy from a lower caste family, and he has his friend whose name is Ramesh, who is from a upper class family. Ramesh, this is Ramesh, this is Velu. Ramesh and Velu are classmates, and Ramesh is not as intelligent as Velu. So Velu helps Ramesh with his studies. Now, sometimes Velu goes to Ramesh's house, and Ramesh is a rich boy, so he stays in a big house, and Velu stays in a smaller hut. And Velu comes from the lower caste family, and Ramesh is from a upper caste family. Okay. Now, Every time Venu goes to Ramesh's house, Venu is not allowed to enter inside the house. Instead, he is asked to sit in the veranda on a particular place that is given for people of the lower caste to sit. Ramesh's mother does not allow Venu to get inside the house. And every time Ramesh and his parents sits for lunch, Ramesh asks Venu to come join them for lunch. However, his mother does not allow Venu to go inside and eat with them with the rest of the family in the dining table. Instead, he is asked to sit outside the house and eat. Now, is it correct to do this? Did Venu do any mistake to be treated as an outcast? Did Venu do anything bad that he is not allowed to enter a house? Absolutely no. Venu and Ramesh are both equally boys and they are as normal, and both of them are human beings and both of them are supposed to be treated and respected equally. However, Ramesh's mother is uneducated about the fact that she is supposed to respect another human as she is respected by others, because of which she treats the lower caste with indifference, which is not to be done. And inequality of caste system is one of the major things that still exist in our country, India, which is a social evil which has to be eradicated. And though it is not happening completely today, we should make sure that in our generation this will not exist anymore. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. So, equality and democracy, we looked into it. Let's see what did our leaders do to eradicate inequality. And among that, one of the main person is Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. He believed in equality and his vision was, his idea was that would society be based on liberty, equality and fraternity. According to him, he wanted a place where equality, where liberty, equality and fraternity was the building block of every society. So, what is liberty? Liberty means a state of being free from oppression or opposition. A state where nobody will question another person or nobody will oppress or put down another person. A country where everybody is able to live free without opposition. What is equality? Equality is all humans being treated equally. And what is fraternity? It is a mutual support within the group where one person is always there to help the other person. So, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar he aimed to have a society based on liberty, equality and fraternity, and he worked for it. Now, let's move on to the next point. Let's see, after all this, after all the leaders, after many of them, not just Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, there are other people, but Dr. B.R. Ambedkar is one of the most important and prominent person. With all these people working, what did the government and the constitution promise when it comes to equality? What are the steps taken by the government and the constitution to enhance equality? One thing that the government did is to enhance human dignity, that is, to make sure that everybody knows that all of them must be treated equally and all humans are dignified. So, there are provisions in Indian Constitution which talks about the concept called equality, and the main provision under the Indian Constitution is Article 15, which talks about the concept of equality. In Article 15, prohibition of discrimination on grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, or place of birth is being elaborated. So, one of the important article in the Constitution which speaks about equality is Article 15, and the detail is given in the textbook. No discrimination should be done based on a caste of a person or a religion or sex or place of birth, etc. But everyone should be treated on equal grounds and should not be treated based on their differences. And they also promise special provision for children and women. So all this comes under Article 15. Well, Constitution of India has given the provisions. However, it is still not successful because the Indian citizens have not accepted fully or is not practicing Article 15 fully in all parts of India. So, Article 15 in the Constitution is doing a good job, that because we have a rule that everyone should be treated equally. However, on the practical side of the Indian country, this is not doing a great job because not all the people in India is practicing this. There is still discrimination based on caste, color, creed, place of birth, and sex that we see in our country. While the Constitution promises Article 15, the Indian government has also taken other steps like the midday meal program. So, what is midday meal? This has two concepts. One is to ensure the primary education is given to all children in India, and the second purpose of this scheme is to give free food for the children who are studying in government schools in India who do not have a provision for food. They should be given free food, and this was launched in 15th August 1955. And Tamil Nadu was the first state to implement this scheme. Now, what happened after the scheme was implemented? We should know what are the two main reasons why midday meal scheme was implemented. One is to make sure all the students get minimum primary education. Second one is to provide food for students who do not have enough food. Now, under midday meal program, this program became successful because what are the results of this program? Because midday meal was initiated, more students started attending schools. More students who stopped coming to schools started coming to schools for food, and more female students were entertained to go to schools and attend classes. And one more thing that midday meal program initiated was equality. Why? Both rich or poor, regardless of caste, color, creed, sex, had to sit together in the school to have their midday meal, because of which the midday meal program has become a great success in India compared to every other steps that the government has taken. After the midday meal program, the second step the government took is equal opportunities in private schools. Now we know that midday meal program is only available in the government schools. In the second thing, what the government tried to implement is to give equal opportunity for students in private schools as well. So the government gave a rule to the private schools to make sure that they set aside certain percentage of the school's seats for the students from economically lower background, which promised that students from economically lower background could also attend private schools because there are some seats reserved for them. However, this program did not become a success because though there are seats that's preserved for the students of the economically lower classes, when they started attending schools, they were not treated equally by the teachers or by the parents of the other students or by some students, which became a problem, and that did not lead to complete succession of this program of equal opportunities in private school. However, we are still working on this and we are still trying to bring this and make this a success. It might not become a success now, but in future we are expecting this also to be a success soon. And students of our age, your age, should be advised that all students must be respected and all students must be treated equally regardless of their economic background. And once we start treating everyone equally, this program of equal opportunity in private school will become a success. Now, the last thing that we want to see is what about other democratic country other than India? What is happening in those countries? Is inequality only existing in India, or does inequality also exist in other countries? Okay, so other democracy in the nation, in the world other than India is USA, that is United States of America. They have full democracy. However, even in USA, there are traits of inequality that's been seen. Now, let's look at one of the story which led to civil rights movement in USA. In USA, people who are Black Americans or African Americans are treated with indifference or treated with or not treated equally. The reason being, African Americans are descendants of Africans who were brought as slaves to America. And as the generations passed and the slavery was abolished, their children and their children's children started living in America as free people, and they are called as African Americans. And these people are not treated with equality in America. One of the incidents that led to civil rights movement in America is this. So there was a lady named Rosa Parks, and she was a working woman. So once she worked, and she was an African American. So On December 1st, 1995, around 25 years ago, she was traveling from place of work to her home. She was tired after work, and so she was sitting on a seat in the bus. Now, they had a rule where if an African American is sitting in the bus and if an American or a white man comes by, they are supposed to stand up and give the chair or the seat for the American. Now, Rosa Parks was really tired after work and she was sitting. An American man comes and she does not get up from her seat. And this led to a struggle or a movement of civil rights because she did not get up and she did not leave space for the white man. And from this incident, the African Americans started opposing the white people for not treating them equally, and the civil rights movement started. Her refusal started a huge agitation against the white skinned people, and this came to be known as the civil rights movement. Now, what is the challenge in democracy? The challenge in democracy is that there is no equality that is fully seen in any country or any democratic country. Does that mean we should stop working for equality? No. It's not easy as it appears, but we have to always strive to achieve equality in whatever way possible. So this is the end of the chapter.